The Prince of Darkness wasn't the only aspect of Ozzy Osbourne. In addition to being a TV personality and music legend, he battled more demons than most people could fathom. Fans witnessed Ozzy go through a life filled with highs and tragic lows, from crazy stage performances to unguarded moments with his family. He fought against disease, drugs, and even the press. However, once news of his autopsy began to circulate, the globe is now in shock. Nobody anticipated this given his history of health problems. What killed him? Come along as we examine the startling autopsy results of Ozzy Osbourne. Born John Michael Osbourne in Birmingham, England, on December 3, 1948, Ozzy Osbourne rose from modest beginnings to become a heavy metal superstar. He was raised with 2 brothers and 3 sisters in a working-class household. He talked about how difficult life was at the time in a TV series titled Biography, The 9 Lives of Ozzy Osbourne. He reportedly remarked, "I felt like a peasant." Nevertheless, his father never gave up on him and assured Ozzy that he would accomplish great things in the future. That conviction propelled Ozzy ahead. He joined forces with Terence Geyser Butler, Bill Ward and Tony Iommi to form Black Sabbath in 1968. Their debut album was released in 1970, 2 years later. The genre that would eventually be known as heavy metal began with that album. Black Sabbath gained popularity very fast, but success also brought with it issues. Things began to go apart by 1979. Because of her drug use and fights, Ozzy was expelled from the band. He didn't give up though. In 1980 he started a solo career, which was considerably more prosperous than his previous one. Ozzy returned to Black Sabbath multiple times over the years. They resumed touring and creating new music before calling it quits in 2017. Ozzy continued to create music on his own despite everything. Patient Number 9, his last solo album, was released in 2022. He created history in addition to music. Ozzy sold over 100 million records overall, including his solo and band recordings. He received a star on both the Birmingham Walk of Stars and the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In addition, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2006 with Black Sabbath and again in 2024 as a solo performer. In addition, he received the Ivor Novello Award for Lifetime Achievement in 2015 and the Global Icon Award at the MTV Europe Music Awards in 2014. Ozzy's life, however, was more than just music. It was about family, hardships, and confronting his worst sides. And the public frequently saw those scenes, particularly when he opened his home to the world on national television. The Osbournes' family, pain, and notoriety. Fans saw a different aspect of Ozzy Osbourne's life in the early 2000s. His appearance on The Osbournes, an MTV program that lasted from 2002 to 2005, made him a reality TV sensation. Ozzy allowed cameras inside his home, together with his wife Sharon and their children, Jack and Kelly. The Osbourne family became even more well-known as a result of the show's success. But there was a lot of suffering hidden behind the turmoil and laughter. Ozzy claimed that the concert was difficult for everyone in a 2020 interview with GQ. The children were all high after 3 years of filming it. He revealed that Sharon was fighting cancer. The family was then asked by Ozzy if they wanted to go on. The show finished when they all answered no. However, Ozzy went on to say that he was happy they did. Fans were given a glimpse into their private life, but there was a price for that. Ozzy's private life was anything but easy. He had 6 children from 2 marriages. He met Thelma Riley, his first wife, at a Birmingham nightclub in 1971. Louis and Jessica, their 2 children, were born the same year they were married. Elliot, Thelma's kid from a prior relationship, was also adopted by Ozzy. However, there were several issues in their marriage. It was a terrible mistake, Ozzy said. His frequent travels were exacerbated by his drug and alcohol abuse. In fact, Ozzy said that he couldn't even recall the birth dates of Jessica and Louis in the documentary God Bless Ozzy Osbourne, which was produced by his son Jack. That demonstrates how disoriented he was at the moment. Ozzy's manager Sharon Arden was his wife in 1982. Together they have 3 kids, Jack, Amy, and Kelly. Ozzy had a vasectomy after Jack was born. Later on, he made a joke about how they decided to get married on July 4th, so he would always remember their anniversary. Despite their relationship's ups and downs, they remained together. Ozzy even composed music for his kids. One of them, which was a B-side on the album Osmosis, was for Amy. Amy ends the song by saying, "I'll always be your angel." This line echoes the chorus's lines. My Little Man, another Osmosis song, was composed in Jack's honor. The family divided their time between residences in Los Angeles and Buckinghamshire as they aged. Despite all the suffering and errors, Ozzy's love for his family was evident when he became a grandfather. However, life was never easy for Ozzy Osbourne. Additionally, his health started to deteriorate as he aged. He was perceived by the public as powerful and untamed, although his body was severely damaged. He overcame innumerable obstacles, both mental and physical. He continued to be well known despite everything, performing music and spending time with his family. Ozzy's health issues in last years. At the age of 76, Ozzy Osbourne passed away on July 22, 2025. We have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne passed away this morning, with more sadness than words can express. His family said in a statement confirming the news. He was surrounded by love, and with his family. His fans were devastated, particularly since it was only a few weeks after his last concert in Birmingham, England, on July 5. Celebrities like Steven Tyler and Jason Momoa were among the more than 40,000 attendees at that show. Many saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to witness the Prince of Darkness perform live one more time. But Ozzy was hurting behind the scenes. Parkinson's disease was one of the health issues he had been dealing with. He had trouble standing and walking because of this disease. According to Ozzy's statement from February 2020, I'm not shaking and it's a mild form of Parkinson's right now. The doctor told me that I probably walk by 10 people with it every day who don't even know they have it. You don't get a pimple on your forehead. You just start walking a bit funny, I suppose, he continued. Despite his altered gait, Ozzy continued to proceed forward. Even when it became too terrible to conceal, he persisted. The events that followed his diagnosis were both tragic and motivational. The unfinished tour. Ozzy announced what he dubbed his final world tour in 2017. It was scheduled to take place between 2018 and 2020. Although he would perform occasionally, he stated at the time that this would be his final major tour. However, things didn't work out as expected. His health started to deteriorate in October of 2018. After developing a thumb infection and requiring hand surgery, he was forced to postpone performances. Ozzy then developed a serious upper respiratory illness in January 2019. His tour stops in the UK and Europe had to be postponed. As she recovered from that sickness, things worsened, and Ozzy informed followers, "It just seems that since October everything I touch has turned to sue." He aggravated an old injury after falling at his Los Angeles home. That injury resulted from a devastating 2003 ATV accident. In April 2019, Ozzy had to cancel all of his remaining gigs due to neck surgery. He underwent 3 further spinal procedures between 2019 and 2023. September 2023 was the last one he had. The journey to recuperation and agony was lengthy. Ozzy stated in 2023 that this would be his last surgery. He expressed some optimism by stating, "I walked upstairs today for the first time in a while, and my feet feel like I've got diving boots on." He added, "It's going to be the final surgery, because I can't do it anymore. Regardless of the way it ends up, I can't." It demonstrated how fiercely he continued to fight. Despite that minor victory, Ozzy was aware that his body was nearing its breaking point. Ozzy eventually revealed his Parkinson's diagnosis to his fans in a January 2020 Good Morning America interview, after living with the disease and a family's secret suffering. Sharon and their kids, Jack and Kelly, joined him. "It's not a death sentence by any stretch of the imagination," Sharon stated, making it apparent that it wasn't the end. "You have a good day, and then a really awful day." Ozzy also gave an explanation for his decision to share the news. He said, "I'm not good with secrets. You know, I'm running out of reasons, so I can't go around with it anymore." Ozzy was initially diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2003, Sharon subsequently revealed. In the 2022 documentary Paxman, Putting Up with Parkinson's, she disclosed this. In that movie, Sharon remarked, "Suddenly your life just stops. Life as you knew it." She also discussed the emotional pain, stating, "And sometimes when I look at my husband, and he doesn't know I'm looking at him, I'm crying. I'm sad for myself to see him that way, but what he goes through is worse." For the Osbournes, Parkinson's disease was more than just a health issue. Their entire universe was altered. After decades of employment, Ozzy was suddenly forced to give up his passion. Coming from a working-class background, I hate to disappoint people, and I hate to fail at my job. Therefore, when I see my wife and kids going to work and everyone trying to help me, that makes me sad because I can't support my family, he said on Good Morning America. You know, for someone who had always been the focus of attention on stage and always provided, that sense of helplessness was difficult. Nevertheless, his family supported him during the most trying times and remained at his side. Speaking of which, Parkinson's disease wasn't the first of Ozzy's health issues. Over the years, his body had suffered greatly from accidents, addiction, and the weight of everything. He had a frightening ATV accident in 2003. He had severe bleeding in his lungs and broke 6 ribs in his collarbone. To save him, the doctors had to act fast. He was taking a break from promoting a duet with his daughter Kelly when that crash occurred. He then fell again in 2019, this time in the restroom. The metal rods in his back from the ATV crash years ago came loose as he slipped. As he went on to say, I went to the doctors and you assume everybody knows what they're doing. My son Jack has a video of me going into surgery saying, I'll see you in a few minutes. I haven't been able to walk normally since. I fell over and I landed wrong. His life was altered by these wounds. Previously simple tasks have now become challenging, or perhaps impossible. But he continued. Due to sickness, he had to postpone his 2019 tour dates in Australia and New Zealand. In addition to all the injuries and illnesses, Ozzy also struggled with addiction. His wife Sharon stated at the time, Ozzy recently developed pneumonia and has spent some time in hospital. He is through the worst part. His doctors have advised that he stay at home to recuperate for full 6 weeks. In 2024, he acknowledged that he was not totally sober, but that he had made progress in his battle with alcohol and drugs, which began in the 1970s. He said, my tolerance has gone, I'm glad to say, because when I start drinking, I start looking for drugs. He also mentioned that Sharon had received good training in handling chaos. Ozzy never lost his voice despite all the chaos, pain and surgeries. Even in his last years, his words were full of truth. As the world watched him fight through it all, Ozzy started shifting his attention away from the spotlight. His candor about addiction helped others feel less alone. It demonstrated that even a rock legend had struggles he couldn't always win. Now peace, family and home were more important than the stage. Ozzy Osbourne had plans to return to his home in Buckinghamshire, England, before he passed away. In an interview with Rolling Stone in December 2023, he disclosed that the house was undergoing extensive renovations, and that after everything was finished, he wanted to live there permanently. Ozzy seems to be thinking a lot about his life at the time, saying, I do count my lucky stars. Sometimes I feel like I'm on borrowed time, and I'm not sure why I'm still here. He also discussed their journey together with Sharon. The other day I told Sharon, what a wonderful life and experience we've had. These remarks demonstrated Ozzy's gratitude for everything he had experienced, despite his numerous health issues. Before Ozzy's last performance in 2025, Sharon was also prepared to end that phase of their lives. We're done. I've been doing this since I was 15, and I'm done, she said to Billboard. For a couple who had traveled or been in the spotlight for the majority of their lives, this was their way of expressing that they were ready for peace. We just want to live our life and do what we want to do, and not have to follow an itinerary anymore. But before he really went away, Ozzy had one more thing to say to his admirers. The last show. Ozzy Osbourne's final performance was on July 5, 2025. Birmingham, the city where his journey with Black Sabbath began, hosted the event, which was titled Back to the Beginning. For the first time in 2 decades, Ozzy performed with the original members of Black Sabbath. For a moving farewell, he got back together with Geezer Butler, Tony Iommi, and Bill Ward. Speaking on his radio program, Ozzy Speaks, in the days before the performance, Ozzy stated that he was making every effort to get ready. He answered, I'll do the show if my God wants me to. I will get there by any means necessary. I am putting my all into it. Despite the fact that he had not engaged in any physical activity for almost 7 years, that determination came. Ozzy was no longer able to walk independently due to Parkinson's disease. In keeping with his well-known moniker, he performed while perched on a bat-shaped throne. He admitted to The Guardian in May 2025 that Sharon came up with the idea for the event.
She desired for him to have a motivation for rising in the morning. In keeping with his signature style, Ozzy applied dark and black eye makeup that evening. He sang songs like Crazy Train, Mama I'm Coming Home, Suicide Solution, Mr. Crowley, and I Don't Know. He delivered his followers one last message at the conclusion of the performance. Man, I have no idea what to say. It's been about 6 years since I was layup. You don't understand how I feel. With all of my heart, thank you. With obvious emotion, he raised his hands and blew kisses to the audience. Fireworks illuminated Villa Park, the stadium. Bold words appeared on a big banner. I appreciate everything you've done. You guys are truly great. Birmingham will always be there. It was the ideal conclusion to an illustrious career. However, much was going on behind the scenes, despite that tearful departure. It took a while for that last show to come together. They had been preparing it for 2 years, Sharon subsequently revealed. She expressed how emotionally charged the encounter was in an interview with Rolling Stone UK. The fact that everyone answered, "Yes, we want to do it. We're there," was simply incredible. "We want to be there for the charity and support Sabbath and Ozzy." Sharon was pleased with the number of artists who volunteered. The concert was supported by well-known figures like Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins, Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit, and even Guns N' Roses legends Slash and Duff McKagan. The music director Rage Against the Machine's Tom Mill referred to it as the best heavy metal performance ever. Fans were captivated by that title, which increased the excitement. Due to his health, Ozzy hadn't done a live performance in years, but he had been preparing diligently with his therapist. "Susie works with his therapist every single day," Sharon stated. "Actually, he's doing really well." She went on to say that Ozzy's main objective was to give his audience a memorable concert. According to her, Ozzy's admirers are his greatest asset. Ozzy's Parkinson's disease forced him to sit on a throne for the performance, but he gave it his all. "I Don't Know," he sang, "Crazy Train, Mama, I'm Coming Home, Crowley, and Suicide Solution." He delivered an emotional speech to the audience. "Man, I have no idea what to say. It's been about 6 years since I was layup. You don't understand how I feel. With all of my heart, thank you." As he lifted his hands and blew kisses to the audience, fireworks illuminated the sky. Before the show, Ozzy shared a picture of a dressing room sign on Instagram with the caption, "Back to the beginning." It was brief but poignant. "It's my time to go back to the beginning." The post became even more poignant when he passed away 2 weeks later. Sharon added that this was Ozzy's opportunity to express gratitude to his fans. That night was more than just a concert. It was a celebration of a life full of music, mistakes, second chances, and the people who stood by him all the way. Ozzy finally had the opportunity to thank everyone for their years of support and encouragement, as well as for truly giving us the life we have together. Friends paid their respects and gave a heartfelt farewell. The events that followed Ozzy's farewell performance, which was poignant and strong, added even more significance. Ozzy died on July 22nd, just 2 weeks after that night, which added to the surrealness of the situation. It seemed as though he knew his time was running out. He had declared, "You have no idea how I feel," during the show, and his facial expressions, words and message to the fans suddenly had a deeper significance. "Thank you, from the bottom of my heart." It suddenly felt like a farewell. Ozzy battled Parkinson's disease and accomplished more than anyone could have imagined at the age of 76. Despite his failing health, Ozzy gave it his all, and the crowd gave him their love, their applause, and their tears in return. He sat on that throne and gave the performance of a lifetime, and he ended it right where it started. Birmingham, the city, the fans, the music, and the moment. When Ozzy Osbourne died on the morning of July 22nd, 2025, at the age of 76, his wife Sharon and 4 of his children, Jack, Kelly, Amy, and Lewis, released a joint statement confirming the tragic news. The throne he sat on was more than just a chair. It was a symbol of everything he had built and everything he was saying goodbye to. "We have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne passed away this morning, with more sadness than words can express," they stated. They tweeted a picture of Ozzy seated in a black-winged throne during his final show just 2 weeks prior, along with a message asking for privacy during this painful time. He was with his family and surrounded by love. Following the announcement of Ozzy's death, tributes poured in from all over the world. That performance had been part of Black Sabbath's Back to the Beginning charity event, which raised money for a number of causes, including Birmingham Children's Hospital, Cure Parkinson's, and Acorns Children's Hospice. Elton John wrote on Instagram, "He was a dear friend and a huge trailblazer, who secured his place in the pantheon of rock gods, a true legend." Ronnie Wood of the Rolling Stones called Ozzy one of the funniest people he'd ever met and said, "I will miss him dearly." Black Sabbath posted a brief but impactful message, "Ozzy forever."